Acquiring a business? BizNexus simplifies it. Access thousands of updated opportunities in our DIY marketplace or supercharge team sourcing with OmniSource, your all-in-one platform for on-market, off-market, and coming-soon deals. Scale smarter today. Learn more or book a demo at www.biznexus.com.
Disclaimer from the always present legal team. Podcast conversations don't necessarily reflect the views of BizNexus Incorporated. Everything you hear is informational news and updates from around the industry. We're not recommending any investments. We're not offering any investment advice. Be sure to do your own homework.
All right, welcome back. Today we're diving deep. We're diving deep into the world of billion-dollar deals. We're talking tech titans. It's a world where companies are bought and sold like pieces on a chessboard. It's mergers and acquisitions, but specifically in the tech sector.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you're someone who's thinking about investing or maybe you're working in tech right now, or even if you're just fascinated by how this whole world works. This deep dive, I think, is going to give you some really, really interesting insights.
Yeah, it is. It's a fascinating landscape right now. Recent PitchBook analysis actually shows us that after a bit of a, I guess you could say, a lull, tech M&A is back.
Back with a vengeance.
With a vengeance, yeah.
So is it safe to say that the M&A market is bouncing back after all that uncertainty we saw last year? And what's tech's role in all of this?
It's definitely bouncing back, and tech is no doubt leading the charge. Global tech M&A deals hit, get this, $220.6 billion in just the third quarter of 2024.
Whoa, okay. That is a lot of zeros. But help me put that into perspective. How big of a jump is that from, let's say, last year?
I mean, we're talking a 60% increase from the same period last year. And it's not just a small burst either. The first 3 quarters of 2024 have already seen nearly $615 billion in tech M&A. That's a 62% increase year over year.
So this isn't just some random, blip. This is a full-blown trend.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, what's driving all this frenzy? Why are companies suddenly so eager to buy and sell?
Well, there are a couple of things happening. First, remember when the Federal Reserve cut interest rates back in September?
Yeah.
Well, that made borrowing a lot cheaper, and this is basically a green light for companies who are looking to finance, those big acquisitions. Plus, there's a lot of talk about more rate cuts coming down the line.
So it's like a perfect storm for M&A. Cheap money and a whole lot of opportunity.
Exactly. And then on top of that, you have public tech company valuations skyrocketing. They're super attractive targets for acquisition right now. And this, in turn, gives private tech companies, all those startups working on the next big thing, a ton of confidence. They see a clear path to a lucrative exit.
So everyone wins. Buyers get their hands on some hot new tech, and sellers get to cash in big time. But let's talk about the big fish in the M&A pond. Let's talk about private equity firms. They seem to be making a major comeback in this whole scene.
Absolutely. In the third quarter alone, PE firms were behind 6 of the 10 largest tech acquisitions. Think back to some of those headline-grabbing deals. Blackstone and Vista Equity Partners taking Smartsheet private for $8.4 billion. Thoma Bravo snatching up cybersecurity firm Darktrace for $5.3 billion. These weren't just big deals, they were power moves.
It sounds like PE firms are flexing their muscles. They're saying, hey, we're back and we're ready to play. But didn't corporations dominate those top 10 acquisitions earlier in the year, back in the first quarter?
Yeah, they did. Which makes this shift all the more interesting. It really highlights how PE firms are once again hungry for those big, splashy tech deals.
So are they just throwing money around because they have it? Or is there something more strategic going on? Are they seeing opportunities that maybe others are missing?
That's where things get really interesting. A merger market survey from the second quarter found that PE firms were actually more optimistic about the M&A market's recovery than strategic corporate buyers. And not just slightly more optimistic, significantly so.
So they're seeing something that others aren't. But what is it? What's making them so bullish on tech M&A?
Well, think about it this way. PE firms, they're often looking for hidden gems, those companies with huge potential, the ones that might be flying under the radar. They're less interested in, the established giants, right? And more focused on finding the disruptors. They want the innovators who could be the next big thing.
So they're like talent scouts for the tech world, always on the hunt for that next superstar.
Exactly. And with valuations so high right now, they're willing to pay a premium to get in early. They see, like, the potential for massive returns down the line, even if the initial investment is substantial.
Okay, that makes sense from their perspective. But what about, the rest of us? What does this whole M&A frenzy mean for someone who's not a billionaire investor?
That's a great question. It's easy to get caught up in all those dollar figures and forget about the wider implications. But this surge in tech M&A activity really does have a ripple effect. It can be a major driver of innovation, honestly.
I can see that. You've got these big companies with all the resources, all the infrastructure, and they're acquiring these smaller, more nimble startups that are full of fresh ideas. It's almost like a fast track for bringing new technologies and products to the market.
Precisely. But it also raises some important questions, like what happens to competition when you have all this consolidation? Some argue that it can lead to monopolies. That's when just a handful of companies control entire industries.
Yeah, I've had those concerns. The idea is that, if you have fewer players in the game, then it kind of stifles innovation and then ultimately hurts consumers.
Exactly. Others, though, believe that M&A activity can actually create stronger companies. The argument is that by combining all those resources, combining expertise, these merged entities are better equipped to compete on a global scale, which then, ultimately benefits everyone.
So it's not a simple black and white situation. There are potential benefits and potential downsides.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so fascinating to analyze. There's no easy answer. It really depends on the specifics of each deal and how the industry, how it evolves over time.
So I guess the takeaway for our listeners is that it's crucial to keep an eye on these M&A trends. And I mean, not just the headlines, but also like the underlying dynamics.
I completely agree. Whether you're an investor, an entrepreneur, or just someone who's interested in the future of technology, understanding these forces is essential. It's about knowing what's happening in the tech landscape, and why it matters.
Okay, so let's recap what we've learned today. Tech M&A is back in a big way, and it's being driven by low interest rates, sky-high valuations, and a renewed appetite from those private equity firms.
And we've seen how these deals can potentially, fuel innovation, but they also raise concerns about competition and the concentration of power. It's a complex issue, that's for sure. No easy answers.
But there's one question we haven't really addressed yet, and it's the big one. As tech M&A continues to heat up, what does it all mean for the future of the industry?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Will we see a wave of innovation that benefits everyone, or will we end up with a tech landscape that's dominated by, just a few powerful players? I guess that's what we have to keep watching for.
Right. And it's not just about the big, those big splashy acquisitions either. It's about understanding the trends. What are the motivations? What are the potential consequences of all these deals, both big and small?
So it's like we're all detectives, right?
Yeah.
We're all trying to piece together this puzzle of the tech world. And the pieces keep changing.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so exciting. It's a very dynamic landscape, and it demands that we stay informed. We've got to ask questions. We have to challenge our assumptions.
Well, on that note, I want to encourage all of you listening to keep exploring this topic. Don't just take our word for it. Dig into the research, read the analyses, and most importantly, think for yourself. What do you think this all means for the future of tech?
Yeah, we would love to hear your thoughts, your perspectives, your questions. After all, the more we all engage in this conversation, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this, ever-changing world of tech.
Absolutely. So keep those brains buzzing and stay tuned for more deep dives into the topics that matter most. Until next time, happy exploring.